Ladies and gentlemen, we are once again in that situation where there has been a big update to Warzone that changed a lot. This is, of course, the Season 4 Reloaded, or the mid-season update, whatever you want to call it, and this is one of the biggest weapon changes that we have ever seen. That being said, even though a lot of the main weapons people were using were touched in this update, doesn't mean a lot of the meta has actually changed. But as per usual, when these things happen, I like to bring you a video giving you what my 5 best loadouts currently are in the current meta of Warzone. Now, there are some things that changed. For example, before, if you look at my Season 4 loadouts, I was using a lot of stuff with the Farah. The Farah is now no longer what it was. It doesn't hit as hard and has more recoil, so all of the things that were good about it were kind of nerfed. But they have been replaced by a bunch of other things, and actually some Modern Warfare weapons have kind of jumped into the mix because they weren't nerfed in the update and the Black Ops Cold War weapons were. So in this video, we're going to go over what my 5 best loadouts currently are at Season 4 Reloaded, so you guys can do a little bit better in Warzone, and of course looking at the perks and all of that kind of stuff as well. But first, let's hear from today's video sponsor. So today's video is sponsored by the CDL, and if you guys didn't know, there are some big dates coming up for the CDL. First of all, we have Major 5. Major 5 is just around the corner, going from July the 29th to the 1st of August. This is teams' last chance to actually make it into the playoffs and make it into the CDL champs. Now, in doing so, you have to make that top 8 teams to actually get in there. And on top of this, Major 5 is actually going to be the first live event with fans this year, so it's going to be competitive as ever. And it's going to be really interesting to see who makes it to champs. Speaking of which, we also know the dates for champs. Champs is taking place on the 19th to the 22nd of August, and the coolest part about this is you can actually buy tickets now and go and check it out live and be a part of Call of Duty history. CDL Champs is taking place at the Galen Center in Los Angeles, and if you want to check it out, if you want to get tickets, you want to witness COD history live, click the link down in the description. Check it out. It's going to be something you absolutely don't want to miss. And if you want to go, tickets are limited, so make sure you get them while they are still available. So be sure to check out that link down below, and thank you CDL for sponsoring the video. So to start out, I actually just wanted to have a quick discussion about the current meta. So essentially what they did in the most recent update was take all of the good weapons in the game and nerf their time to kill and damage at range, which makes sniper rifles a little bit more viable at long range. And on top of that, nerfs basically all of the weapons. So since they nerfed all of the main weapons, they kind of remain in the same slots that they did before, but are just all a little bit worse, which makes other weapons a little bit more viable because they're more on the level of the current best weapons. That being said, my loadouts really didn't change too much, so let's have a look at what I'm exactly talking about here. So to start out, we're going to start with my current favorite class setup. It is using the Krig 6, the OTS, the new SMG, and then the perks that I always use are EOD. You can switch this out for double time if you want to move around a little bit quicker. Of course, overkill, so you can use 2 primary weapons, and then amped to switch through weapons faster. If you want to change anything up, you can use something like Ghost, for example. Don't recommend it, or restock if you want some more equipment. And then as far as EOD, double time is that other good option there. As far as my lethal, I use a thermite. You can use pretty much whatever you want here. Some Texas are good, but thermites are my personal favorite, best for pushing into rooms. I use the heartbeat sensor. You can use stuns here if you prefer that, and if you're using restock, I would recommend that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I use on every single one of my classes. Now, as far as the weapons go, first of all, starting with the Krig 6, I am using the agency suppressor, the Ranger barrel. This improves your bullet velocity and recoil control. Tiger Team Spotlight for better movement speed. The axial arms 3 times because this is my long range weapon. And then the 60 round mag because I'm playing quads most of the time. And that's important to have on there when you get into gunfights with 3 or 4 people in a row. As far as this weapon goes, it is very versatile. As of right now, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite assault rifle. There's one other one that kind of fits into the mix. This one hits hard. Its recoil is very controllable. And remember how I said I wasn't using the Farah anymore? I'm basically using the Krig instead of it, basically because it wasn't nerfed as hard as the Farah was. And the weapon that I'm using with it is the OTS 9, and essentially I'm using this because it's currently, in my opinion, one of the, if not the best SMGs in the game. What you want to use with this is the GRU suppressor, the Task Force barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight once again for movement, the skeletal stock again for movement, and then the largest mag that we have is the 40 round fast mag. Now, the one downside to this weapon is it's only a 40 round mag, so you're going to have to reload more often. often. That's why the fast mag is definitely the best choice here. The problem is if you get in a fight with 3 people, you basically can't use this weapon. That's why I'm using it with the Krig. I don't mind the Krig up close, so if I really get caught in a corner, I can just use the Krig instead of this. But the TTK on the OST, really, really good. If you haven't given it a shot yet, if you haven't leveled up, this weekend's double XP, so it's a great time to do so. The next class I have here is arguably the next best assault rifle, which is the C58. If you haven't tried this thing out, it basically hits really, really hard. I recommend using it, and the attachments that I use are the agency suppressor to stay off that radar, task force barrel, field agent foregrip, the 55 round mag, and finally the 4x optic. Now you can use the 3x, but the 4x is a little bit better. You can control that recoil, and you're using this at long range because it hits so hard. It's one of the best long range weapons currently in the game if you're not using an assault rifle. Now, the weapon that I'm using this with is the MP5. Now, this is the same thing that I have used for a very long time. It's the Modern Warfare MP5. It has a little bit more range than the Black Ops Cold War MP5, which we're also going to be talking about in this video. But what I use is the monolithic integral suppressor, the tac laser, Merc foregrip for some recoil control, 45 round mags, and the Stippy Grippy. Move around fast with this thing. You can get a lot of kills, and it's decent at mid-range. And that's really why I like this one actually over the Black Ops Cold War one. Yes, the Black Ops Cold War has a bit better of a time to kill up close, and it does melt people a little bit faster. However, this one's easier to control, and I just have liked it ever since it was just Modern Warfare in the game. If you're not trying this one out, if you haven't used it in a while, try going back to it. I promise you, you will not regret it. The next 3 classes are definitely some stranger ones, and there's some ones that I definitely recommend you giving a try. So the one we have here is the Kar 98 and the MP7. And you may be thinking, the MP7, you haven't heard that gun in a while, and that is absolutely right. So as far as the Kar 98 goes, this is the same thing I've been using for seasons and seasons. Monolithic suppressor, 27.6-inch barrel, tac laser, variable zoom, just because I prefer the variable zoom, and the Stippy Grippy for that faster aim down sights and sprint out time and all of that jazz. So actually, I'm going to be completely honest with you, the Swiss is actually a better sniper currently than the Kar 98. So I definitely recommend, if you have the Swiss leveled up, give that one a shot. The reason why I'm not using it is because I haven't used it enough and I don't know what attachments I like on it as of yet. But with the most recent update, the Swiss is actually a better sniper rifle. It's just I haven't totally got used to it yet, and I want to wait to give you guys a recommendation on that. The Kar is very, very close, hence why I'm giving you this recommendation. Then the MP7 is an interesting one. So in the most recent update, they nerfed the Milano. Now, the Milano is a good weapon at close and mid-range, and even going into long range. You may have forgot this because you haven't used the MP7 in a while, but so is the MP7. It has a very large magazine, it has very low recoil, and a really fast fire rate. So because of this, it actually works really, really good, almost as a Milano replacement. Now, the Milano is still equally as good, and if you want a class setup for that, go check out my Season 4 class setups, but I'm just giving you something a little bit different that you should try, especially if you haven't used this since Modern Warfare. Now, with this, I'm using the monolithic suppressor, the Recon, because it improves the bullet velocity and damage range and helps with the recoil because we are going to be using this at mid-range. Tac laser for faster ADS, the 60 round mags because once again we're playing quads, and once again that Stippy Grippy for the faster ADS and faster sprint out speed. This is now one of my favorite classes. I really like using the MP7 up close. It doesn't melt quite as fast as say the MP5 or something like that, but it is still a very good class, and if you're using a sniper rifle, it's definitely one of the best secondaries as your sniper support. Another very strange class is my next one here, the Bruen and the Mac 10. Now, with the most recent update, the LMGs are actually somewhat decent. The 3 that I recommend using are the Bruen, the Stoner, or the PKM. I choose the Bruen just because I like the handling and mobility on it just a little bit more than the other ones. I first of all really like the VLK 3x optic, and you can throw on the 60 round mag to make it operate a little bit more like an assault rifle. I also throw on the Commando foregrip for recoil stabilization, the Summit barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, and once again recoil control, and of course the monolithic suppressor to stay off that radar. I think this is one of the more underrated weapons currently, but it's definitely good. This was the GOAT at one point, you guys may remember that, and it's actually giving it a chance to use it with Season 4 Reloaded here. I recommend giving it a shot. Also, Stoner and the PKM are great options for this as well, and of course I'm using the Mac 10 with it. As far as the Mac 10 goes, I've been using this forever. Sound suppressor, task force barrel, Tiger Team spotlight, 53 round drum, and Raider stock. Basically, great mobility. You still stay off of the radar, but you only want to use this one up close. And on top of that, the Bruen is a pretty consistent and pretty easy weapon to use at mid-range. So you got your close range with the Mac 10, and then your long range and mid-range with the Bruen. Very interesting class, very different than a lot of things we've looked at in the past couple seasons, but I definitely recommend giving it a shot. Then we have our final class. This is kind of going back a couple seasons ago. I'm actually using the AMAX with the Cold War MP5. So the Cold War MP5 is probably the fastest time to kill right up close, up until 10 meters. With this, I'm using the agency suppressor, staying off that radar, the Tiger Team Spotlight, Raider stock, 50 round drum, again playing quads and trios, and then field agent grip for a little bit of recoil control. As far as this goes, you only want to use this thing up close, and then at mid and long range, it's your AMAX. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the AMAX because they feel like it has a lot of recoil. Personally, I find the recoil extremely controllable, and I actually kind of like the recoil on this weapon, which a lot of you may find weird. If you don't like it, use a different weapon that we talked about earlier. Both the C58 and the Krig probably have a better recoil pattern, so just replace it with that and use your Cold War MP5 as your secondary weapon. However, what I use on this is the same thing we've been using for seasons: monolithic suppressor, Zodiac barrel, once again recoil control, bullet velocity, damage range, commando foregrip for a little extra recoil because they have added recoil to the weapon, 45 round mags, and of course that VLK 3x optic, which I absolutely love on almost all of the modern warfare weapons. As far as this class goes, you got long range with the AMAX, you got short range with the Cold War MP5, and you can shred at pretty much any range. Now, I want to say before the video ends, these are not the only weapons that are currently good within Season 4 Reloaded. There are other ones that you can use as well. The Bullfrog is decent. I could list off a whole bunch of different ones. These are just the weapons that I am currently using and the weapons that I find the best. If you want kind of a list of the current best weapons, the OTS SMG, the C58, and the Krig are definitely my top picks, and of course we had classes for all of those in this video. So those are the best loadouts. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know what you're using down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, found it helpful, be sure to hit that like button. New to the channel, want to stay up to date on all my videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this to us.